Kinetic particle theory of matter. Now, this is the most fundamental concept in chemistry. The whole idea about matter is based on this theory. Now, according to this theory, matter is composed of tiny particles, small particles, and these particles are too small to be seen. And second postulate is that these particles have spaces between them. The distance between the particle is different in different states of matter, and that is why different states of matter have different appearances due to the different arrangement of particles. In solids, as you know, the particles are very close together, so there are very little spaces between the particles, but there are spaces. In liquids, again, the spaces are very small, the particles are still very close together. But in gases, the particles are far apart. There are very large spaces between the particles, and the size of the particle is negligible as compared to the spaces between the particles. And the third most important postulate of the theory is that these particles are not stationary. These particles are in constant motion. In solids, the particles cannot leave their places, they can only vibrate about their position. In liquids, the particles move in groups and cluster from one place to another. And in gases, the particles are free to move anywhere. They are in constant random motion. So you can see in these three states of matter, the arrangement of particles are different. The spaces between the particles are different. The forces of attraction between the particles are different. And the type of motion of these particles are different in different states of motion. That is why these three states have different properties and different appearances. There are many other postulates of the theory, but we are mainly concerned with these three concepts. So these are the model of solid, liquid and gas arrangement. You can see in solid the particles are closely packed together in a regular arrangement. Now this is very important. Regular arrangement. As you can see, these are arranged in lines, rows, stacked. So in solids the particles are orderly arranged. ये बड़ा important है. In liquids, the particles are also close together, but they are arranged disorderly. As you can see, there is no order. There are no lines. In gases, the particles are far apart with no arrangement. The most disorderly arrangement is in gas. The most orderly arrangement is in solid. Solids. In solids, the particles are closely packed together in an orderly arrangement, as we have discussed before. As you can see, there is an order, there is a scheme, regular arrangement of particles in rows. These are stacked. So in solids, the particles are orderly arranged and these have minimum spaces between them, and the particles can only vibrate about their mean positions. Now that is why solids exhibit the following properties. Which properties? Solids have fixed shape. Why solids have fixed shape? Because the particles cannot leave their places. There are strong forces of attraction between the particles, so they can only vibrate about their mean positions, but they cannot leave their mean position. That's why solids retain their shape. Okay? And solids are incompressible. Why these are incompressible? Because the particles are already very close together with minimum spaces. They cannot be brought any closer by more pressure. So that is why solids are considered to be incompressible. So solids have fixed shape because of the regular arrangement of particles and because the particles can't leave their spaces. Solids are incompressible because particles are already very close together. They cannot be compressed any further because that would create repulsions between the particles. So that is why solids are incompressible. Liquids. In liquids, the particles are also again closely packed together with little spaces between them. The spaces are a bit larger than solids but much smaller than those of liquids. So liquid particles are also very closely packed. These also have strong forces of attraction, but the forces of attraction are weaker than those of solid. That is why liquid particles can move from one place to another, not independently. Liquid particles moves in group and clusters and from one place to another. This is all about liquids. Now all the properties of liquids are based on this arrangement. Now as I told you, arrangement of solid and liquid main difference is that in liquid the particles are disorderly arranged, whereas in solids the particles are orderly arranged with stronger forces of attraction. Now liquids don't have a fixed shape. Why? Because the forces of attraction are weaker and the particles can move in groups and cluster from one place to another. So they can attain the shape of any container they are poured in. Liquids can flow, unlike solids. Solids can't flow. Taken solid particles are fixed at their places. They can't flow, but liquid particles can flow from one place to another place. But liquids are also incompressible just like solids, again for the same reason that liquid particles are already very close together. So these again cannot be brought any closer by pressure. Very high pressure is required to bring them any closer. So liquids and solids both are considered to be incompressible. You should know why, because the particles are already very close, they cannot be brought any closer. And liquids have fixed volume. They don't have a fixed shape, but they do have a fixed volume. Gas. In gases, particles are far apart. They are totally independent of one another with negligible forces of attraction between them, and these have large spaces between them. The spaces between gas particles are much larger than the size of the particle, and these particles are moving randomly in all the direction. When they collide with the wall of the container, they exert pressure, force per unit area. So gases do exert pressure. Now, properties of gases depend on this arrangement. Gases are very compressible. You can compress a gas. You increase the pressure on a gas, its volume decreases. The volume of the gas decreases when we increase pressure. So we can say that volume of a gas is inversely proportional to pressure. So pressure is inversely proportional to volume. If you increase pressure, volume decreases. Why? Because gas particles have large spaces between them. So when pressure is increased, the particles can be brought closer easily. So that is why the gases are compressible, highly compressible. This question is asked. Then volume of the gas is directly proportional to temperature. How? Because when you increase temperature, the kinetic energy of the particles increase, they start moving faster, they move further away from one another. So that is why when temperature increases, volume of the gas also increases. So you should know that volume is directly proportional to temperature. ये relationship आपको पता होनी चाहिए. Then when temperature increases, what happens to the pressure? Temperature is also directly proportional to pressure. When temperature of a gas increases, its particles gain kinetic energy, they start moving faster. So they collide more often with the walls of the container. So pressure of the gas also increases. So you should know all these relationships. Questions related to these do come in paper. What is the relationship between pressure and volume, volume and temperature, temperature and pressure, especially with reference to gas, because gases are highly compressible और उनमें ज़्यादा dramatic changes होती हैं. Even solids and liquids also expand, their volume also increases on increasing temperature, but उनकी changes फिर भी slight होती हैं as compared to gases.